right, guys, here we go. It's July 4th. We're kind of early afternoon here, and today in our polling, we threw it up to any asset class. So we had a bit of a spread around here. I had to break the tie with Google. Here it was between Google and Snap, but Snap, there's just not enough history there, so I chose Google. There's kind of an interesting chart here, and a few things to consider, and then perhaps a relatively attractive entry setting up, but you're going to have to be patient because it's not there yet. So now I've got a 3-day chart here. Oh shit, sorry, here. My marketing guys will give me hell if I don't mention this. So we do have this promo going. It's just July 4th. We'll run this through the weekend. So for any, this video will probably end up on YouTube at some point here. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is something you can take advantage of here. So we're having a 25% off on our 4-month membership and then 15% off all other memberships. So something to take advantage of here. You can find this over on our Twitter feed. It'll be very current here, but you'll need these little codes here to get the discount to kick in from your cart. So just something to keep in mind if you consider joining us over at Trade Devils University. This is a way to do it and save yourself a little dough. All right, so there we go. That said, let's get back over here to Google. Now, as I said, I've got a 3-day chart here so we can get the complete history. And of course, obviously I have a set of median lines on this. Now we're going, is it 04 here is the low here, and then so just a gorgeous impulse here we've gone a bit parabolic here. Now what's our low here in 16? No surprise here. So we've got this extra kick. So we've gone outside of the median lines. But note this here. So the first point is here, our corner pocket gets realized right here. Right? So our 80% is realized. But note we come up to the upper edge, back to the median line. Now we get the big rip here, but then back to the outer edge of the median line. So we seem to be, this is having influence in the market. So I don't want to just discard it because at this point I haven't done, we'll get to the count in a second, but coming back to the median line here per the count as I'm seeing it here, that's something that I want to pay attention to. But here's another little thing that I'll do. Of course, now you could just go here and change the settings and start adding runners on it. But one thing that when I see it like this where it's tagging the upper parallel, I might do something like this where I'll just draw some channels along the inside of the median lines here. So I can just take that. So now I have it framed, so I have the sizing right, and then I'll just pull this over. So I'm just duplicating. So I'm just duplicating the channel that's created by the median line. So I get this, now I see this with this upper parallel here. But actually it looks like if you're going to really do it completely, it looks like there's another channel that's right here as these two lows are being hit, putting it like that. So I might, well, let's change that color. We'll put that one in yellow, and let's put this one in light blue. Let's go that. All right, so you see that a little bit better, okay? And then we've got this one here. I guess we can go up so just so you can see them a little bit better. So do you see? So it's all coming from the original framing of the 1-2 per the Elliott count. But now here, as we've come up here and tagged this upper range here and coming here, so this kind of has me looking at this as the decision point. If we're going to get another leg down here, this would be my target here. So looking for something closer or to the lower parallel. So any of those. So with that established, now we can take a look at the count here. So it's relatively straightforward count. The subdivision is amazingly precise. So 1-2 looks like, hard to think of that as anything other than a 3. It doesn't look like we're finished yet. Now, we've gone into, well, you can kind of see it here. We're just in a big sideways box. So we've got this, come here, this kind of happening as we've double topped up here. That right on it. So we're kind of in a sideways motion, which per the count as I'm seeing it here, with this being as the 3, something either we're going to get a combination here. I think well, certainly it's possible that this is our 4, but if you think about the symmetry in terms of the length of the time of the 3, the 2 to the 4, it doesn't look like it's done, right? So it's hard to be envisioning betting against Google, but so for me, I'd be looking for buying opportunity. I'm not trying to sell it here. If we get, and we'll get into the count, but if we get an A, B, and then a C, I'm not trying to sell the B into the C. Right? That's me, right? So I would wait for the next opportunity to be a buyer here to stay with the trend. Let me pull this off here. Okay, so it's a little tricky up here. So I'm going to go from the 3-day to the daily here, and let's reset. Now, I think with these pretty well established here that we can start to pull some of this off. So my point is, what I would do is I'd have this somewhere, right? So you might split this in quads. So I'd have your 3-day, your daily, maybe a 4-hour, something shorter term, so that you don't lose track of this. So you don't want to just throw them off, and because what'll happen is you'll forget to put them back on. There'll be a pivot that'll tick it, and you'll remember, oh yeah, there was that channel that I forgot about, that median line. So you want to have this somewhere so you don't lose track of it. This may not change for, what's that? It could be a month before you're changing this. It could be 6 months, but don't lose track of it, because we have nice geometry in the market here. So now I'm going to take it off just for the sake of the video. So let's pull this off with those established here, and we'll take this off just so declutter the chart. So per my count, as I go back to a daily, I don't think we can call this, well, it's less likely that this is the 4, that the 4 is in here per the, well, you can just look at it, the length of time here. God, I can't even get back to the 2. That's our 2, and that this is going to be our 3. I don't even think we make, what do we get here? Yeah, well, we do. So it's technically, it qualifies. So, prime zone for a 4 between the 23 and the 38. So is it deep enough? Yeah, it is. But if you look at the symmetry of the 2 to the 4, it just, it's not great. So we have just a textbook, just perfect ABC here. This is a little dicey here in the C wave here. So yeah, it could be done. And if this is going to rip higher, so if we're going to do something like this, if we're going to go 1, we've had a deep 2, and then we're going to go off into this to get the 5, well, we'll be back here revisiting this. But until we break this double top here, I'm more inclined to think that the correction is not done yet. And that's partially influenced by what's happening here. So even though we've had these through these wicks come down here, as I just drew it up, we are essentially in a box. We are just stuck in this box. So how we resolve out of this will be the tell that gives us some clue as to where we are here. Really difficult to make any sort of high conviction call as to what we have here. Even if I go down to the 4-hour, it's a little. Let's dig in there a little closer. You're making a bit of a guesstimate here, because there's nothing that's obvious. There's no clear, I spot it right away. Some sort of an ugly diagonal, looks like 2, 3, 4, 5 into an A wave here. It's a skinny B, but there's a little tiny, I'm on a 4-hour. There's a little ABC that's in there. And then you got to come down here for the C. Now the 1's a bit of a struggle, but this looks like that's your 4. So, pick your pivot here. So it's 1, 2, it could be 3 ABC into the 4, and then we got to finish with this. So as I was suggesting earlier, if this is going to break down, this is the area here that I'm going to come back to reconsider, and maybe we have to go down to a smaller time frame. So this is potentially if the count starts to break down, an area to come back and revisit the count. But coming off here, I think the A, you don't have a lot to work with here. So the ABC, sure, we break the high, but it's short-lived, gap open, and now another gap. Now we filled the gap. So you don't have a lot to say, I got it, I see it clearly. So I think there's a bit of a hurry up and wait. Now this looks more to me like we're just starting in an A, B, C. Of course, that could change. So if we were to get something like that, you might be back here thinking, what can you... It doesn't look like it's done here. So you might be thinking you've got a flat here, so you'd have something along these lines. Right, so could end up with a triangle. There's a number of different things, but we're seeing classic wave 4 behavior here. So given what is relatively straightforward and all the subdivision is there, for the impulse coming off the low to give us the 3 up here, at, what's our level here? 1292 1/4. 3, can I get 5? or right, so the way I'm seeing it right now, ABC into a W, ABC into an X, and then perhaps we've got the A wave in, the B, and we'd be just pulling from the pivot up here. Something in something in this range. Coming up for the, so we get a little three wave into the B, and then coming down for the C to give us the Y wave of the WXY. So that's kind of where I'm leaning, but without more clarity here, it's a bit of a, it's a contender, it's a possibility here. If we hold down here, then we'll be back revisiting this, going, can I get 5 out of here? So right off the bat, you've got a gap open. That makes it, it's always with equities, or it's tricky because of the gaps. So is that 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, we've already overlapped. So now you're trying to squeeze it into a diagonal. Doesn't look great. All right, so if the WXY is going to hold, at this point, it looks better as an AB than it does some, well, I don't know that you can even get a 1, 2 to go 3, 4, 5. So it's a bit of a hurry up and wait here to get a little more information. Just in terms of getting some ability to forecast how we're going to break out of here. So your default is to stay with the trend, right? So obviously trend's been ripping since the low. So you'd be more inclined to be looking for the buy side, right? Obviously, right? So here now, are you trying to trade the B into the C? Well, we've got earnings coming up when the 25th. So I don't know that I'd be wanting to set myself up into anything short on Google going into earnings. So an option trade here, unless you're doing something very short term, which is really I would tell you, unless you have something very, very precise that you're trading off of, going short term in options is mighty difficult to do because time is working against you the minute you get filled. So typically with an option trade, if you're trying to do something here with options, you want minimum 30 days. But, so now we're sitting here on the 4th. You got to wait 3 weeks until you get earnings. So time's just ticking away on that option. So it's losing value by the minute. I don't know that I think there's any advantage in trying to pull that. Could you make some money? Well, sure, right? But right, to each his own here. That's not what I would be looking for, trying to set up a short going into earnings. What I'd be looking for is to perhaps the drift as we, depending on what the broader market is doing. If we're going to drift down lower going into that, earnings is don't have the timing quite lined up. But if we're going to go, here's the 25th. By that timeline, it looks like you're more likely to push up here. Now, if we get a big pop off of earnings, which is, Google is prone to produce some volatility coming off earnings, particularly if there's any surprise, upside or downside. I certainly wouldn't bet against Google's earnings. But if we're gonna see this start to rip higher, then now we're back to the idea that perhaps this is A, B, and we're gonna have to live with that C, which I'd rather not. So I wouldn't be a buyer here thinking, oh, off we go, and on the idea that I've got my 4 in this ugly flat that's going to resolve down here without any clear way to finish that. So the odds would definitely favor a move down off of this. Right, so how does that timing play? So if this is going to creep up into earnings, I'd let earnings come, see how the market reacts to that, and then based on which way the volatility swings, then perhaps revisit here to try and get some clarity into that count. Because at this point, you're just rolling dice, right? Again, but you could probably talk yourself into it, saying, well, really, do I want to be given this trend? Do I want to be trying to fight that trend? Really, right? I mean, sure, when the market goes down, it goes down hard, but so just this low here, that's, you want to fight that 10-year trend? I wouldn't. Why? What all I'm looking for? I want that. Come on down. Give me this. If we can get this, even the 38, that's the trade. I don't. If you want to, if you're ultra aggressive here and you want to try and short that into earnings, well, you know, good luck with that, right? I'd have some very strict risk parameters in place, as in I'm out here. If it trades here, I'm out. But I'd let that come to you. I wouldn't be sitting down here with a limit order, but if I see this come down, that's, you know, then now we're looking really good. You've got just an absolutely perfect setup, all in the context of the longer count, of the larger degree, which is where you want to be with equities. So 1, 2, 3, give me that 4. That is as far as I'm concerned, that's a must take. If you're an equities trader and you like, look at that, just to put the kicker on it. All right, let's get it right on there. All right, so if we can get this to come down here, this is going to have to tighten this up a little bit. Something like that. Oh my God, give me that any day. I will be all over that. So you'd be looking for the buy in here at, what's the risk reward? Let's do it. So you're looking down here, second target, the way I have it written up right now. If we can get the algo target up here, no need to go beyond the, might do it that way. So there's 6.5 to 1 in Google. Looking for that, you know, going into next year. So if you're an option trader, you got to go long term, so you got to pay a premium for that, you know. But either that or you're buying a $900 stock. It's up to you know, whatever your risk tolerance is and your capital allocation. But that's a very tradable event, right? If we get that. So you got to let this come down. Let's get through earnings. This, man, if you can buy it 900 to 900 to 930. Also, you've got this little bit of structure up here, right? You can buy in this zone. I'm all over that. Now, additionally, I'd probably do it this way if we got something along these lines. If we pull that up a hair, we can kind of line this up. Hold that symmetry. There you go. Let's get that fully on there. A little over 6.5 to 1. Now, I don't have this, right? So, but if we come down here, that's about as good as they get. All right, guys, there you go. All right, so we'll wrap here with that, and we'll call it a day here on the holiday. But just one last reminder here, you know, if you've ever considered joining us, good time to do it right now. Okay, guys, with that, I'll talk.